Did you know that ancient civilizations were pulling off stuff that still baffles us today? Forget what you learned in history class. We're diving into the mind-blowing, hilarious, and downright weird facts about the past. Let's get right into it. First up, uncovering the Maya superhighways with lasers. Researchers recently discovered a massive Mayan highway system hidden in the jungle. Using laser shots from planes? That's right, ancient roads revealed by sci-fi weapons. Meanwhile, we're still using Google Maps and somehow ending up at the wrong Taco Bell. And these weren't just dirt paths. We're talking about stone highways stretching over 650 square miles. That's bigger than Las Vegas. And the Maya didn't even need slot machines to bankrupt people. The wildest part, some of these roads lined up with the stars. They basically invented GPS, except their satellite was just Disguised the moons were like sunrisers over there, road goes there. Meanwhile, in 2024, some of us can't parallel park even with a backup camera. These roads were so durable they survived 1,000 years buried in the jungle. Compare that to modern roads that crumbled after one bad winter. Honestly, the Mayans deserve 5 stars on Yelp for construction. They built roads that outlived their entire civilization, while I once had an IKEA shelf collapse before I even finished building it. Next, let's talk about the lost Egyptian city of Thonis. This place was basically the Las Vegas of ancient Egypt. It was so fancy, it had 2 names. The Egyptians called it Thonis. The Greeks called it that S. How you know it was bougie when your city S got more stage names than Snoop Dogg. For 2,700 years, if you wanted to trade with Egypt, you had to go through this place. It was the ancient version of customs and border control, except instead of a TSR agent patting you down, you had a 16-foot statue of a god just staring you down. Then one day, it sank. Not slowly, not climate change over time. Nope. One earthquake and the entire city yeeted itself into the ocean like it missed the Titanic. For centuries, people thought it was a myth, just like Atlantis. But in the year 2000, divers found it. And the first thing they pulled up? A giant statue of Hapi, the god of fertility, face down in the mud. That's like finding a get lucky tonight neon sign. At the bottom of the ocean, the god of flooding literally drowned. That's like Poseidon forgetting to bring his floaty, or Jeff Bezos clipping coupons. Moving on. What about the true colors of ancient Greek statues? You know, those classy, pure white marble statues you see in museums? Yeah, that's a lie. They weren't white at all. Using UV light and microscopes, scientists discovered traces of paint. It turns out the Greeks painted their statues like Marvel's. We're talking bright reds, electric blues, and even gold leaf. Walking through Athens 2,000 years ago wasn't like a solemn art gallery. It was more like Comic-Con, but with more togas. They even found a sphinx from 500 BC, with full patterns and feathers painted on base. The ancient version of a tattoo sleeve. The Greeks were the first to say, "Yeah, my statue needs some ink." For centuries, art historians praised the sophisticated, pure white marble or just admiring statues with all the makeup scrubbed off. That's like looking at Madame Tussauds wax figures after a house fire and calling it minimalism. If the Greeks saw our museums today, they'd probably ask, why are all our gods cosplaying as Casper the Friendly Ghost? Now for the toxic water mystery of Tikal. The Maya had a little problem. They loved the color red. They painted everything with cinnabar, which looks fantastic. Except cinnabar is mercury. So every time it rained, poison leaked straight into their water reservoirs. That's like decorating your house with asbestos wallpaper. But wait, it gets worse. Those reservoirs also became breeding grounds for toxic algae. Not the fun green goo from Nickelodeon. No, this was blue-green algae so toxic that even boiling couldn't kill it. It was basically the ancient version of the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. The Maya built these reservoirs to survive droughts, but instead they created liquid death traps. Researchers found mercury levels so high it would make a hazmat team nervous. Imagine dying because your ancestors wanted their temples to really pop with a splash of red. That's the ultimate bad home renovation. Chip and Joanna Gaines would have been like, maybe we should stick with bait. Finally, let's look at ancient Egyptian ink recipe. The Egyptians used black ink for normal stuff and red ink for the important stuff. They were basically the first people to invent the reply all email. But here's the kicker. They added lead to their ink. Not because they wanted their scribes to go insane, though that probably happened, but because it made the ink dry faster. That's right. Ancient Egyptians were out here making their own version of Sharpies thousands of years before Office Depot existed. The ink sank into the papyrus fibers so well that we can still read their grocery lists. 3,000 years later. Meanwhile, I can't even read my own handwriting from last week. The Egyptians invented permanent markers, but modern pens still explode in your pocket like they're auditioning for a role on CSI. And that's a wrap on some of the wildest ancient discoveries. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this trip back in time, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more mind-blowing stories. See you in the next one.